evening and welcome to Have I Got News For You. I'm Lorraine Kelly and in the news this week, in Surbiton, a heavy user finds a quiet spot to score some ketamine from his dealer. On I'm a Celebrity, there's evidence that Colleen Rooney is struggling with the bean-heavy diet. And in the Cairngorms, after being honked by the car behind, Ruth Davidson lets the driver know exactly what she thinks of them. On Ian's team tonight is a journalist who used to host a podcast called How to Win an Election. It's not for me to judge whether it's any good or not, but apparently Rishi Sunak and Kamala Harris were regular listeners. Please welcome Matt Shortley. On Paul's team tonight is a comedian who did her first ever gig at the Ilkley Literature Festival, which is the second funniest thing to happen in publishing after the sales figures for Boris Johnson's book. Please welcome Maisie Adam. Well, we begin with the bigger news stories of the week. Ian and Matt, have a wee look at this.
As a farmer, Keith Farmer.
That's inheritance tax for you.
No, I'm an economist. These are all pound coins.
Well, this is a big farm protest, and Matt was actually there.
Yes, but there's nothing better than standing in the drizzle speaking to members of the public. And I said to one of them, well, why should someone whose family just happened to have a big house pay inheritance tax, but you shouldn't pay inheritance tax? And she sort of paused for a minute and then said, yeah, that is a good question.
What is it that Labour are actually proposing, though?
Well, the focus of the protest is inheritance tax. Farmers didn't pay it at all, and now they're going to pay half of what everyone else pays. And the limits they've set on them are really pretty high, so it's meant to stop wealthy landowners buying lots of land in order to avoid taxes. And say people like, now, who comes to mind? Jeremy Clarkson. Who originally bought his farm in order to avoid paying any tax on it, has now become the champion of the small farmer who's probably not going to get hit by this and is going to end up worse off for lots of other reasons. It's a bit like if there was a big shepherdesses protest and Marie Antoinette turned up.
What sort of drugs are you on? And share them out.
Exactly.
Mostly ketamine, but...
Do you want to see Jeremy Clarkson talk?
No, thank you.
Well, you're gonna.
Oh,
Whether
OK.
you like it or not,
You made
we
it
have
sound
to
like
see.
an option.
It's not an option.
OK.
Here is Jeremy Clarkson talking to the BBC. Now, don't be distracted by the wee fella in the background.
So why are you here, Mr. Clarkson?
Well, because I'm here to support farmers.
Right. Are you angry?
It's difficult to be angry on somebody else's behalf. That's like being... Yes, no, I'm not angry on someone else's behalf.
Right. So it's not about you. It's not about your farm and the fact that you bought a farm to avoid inheritance tax.
Classic BBC there. Classic. Oh, yeah. It's not the fact that I bought a farm to avoid inheritance tax. The fact.
You told the Sunday Times in 2021 that's why you bought it.
Oh, I love it. Is that Victoria Derbyshire?
Yeah, Victoria Derbyshire.
Victoria Derbyshire, she keeps receipts. You cannot fool her.
Does.
I mean, it's not as though he's got, you know, any history with the Beeb. I mean, she's quite lucky he didn't punch her in the face for turning up with cold food.
Your face there, Matt, is sort of encapsulating the mood of everybody.
I was just wondering when it was all going to be over.
Although it does look like you've attached an umbrella to the top of your head.
Paul?
Yeah, oh yes, hello, I'm still here, yeah.
What country do you think does those sort of protests? What country do you think does them best?
Scotland.
No, we don't protest.
Don't you?
It's the Belgians.
The Belgians.
See, everybody always forgets about the Belgians. They always just ignore them. Have a wee look. There you are. That's how they do it in Belgium.
I could do that.
Look at the power.
I know.
That cow was busting. Wasn't it? It's like a jet wash.
Yeah. But despite all the anger and despite all of that, it was a peaceful protest. Although, if you were watching Sky News, it did threaten to spread into a wider conflict.
Ah.
You're watching Sky News Today. Still to come, farmers preparing to protest in Westminster as inheritance tax anger grows. We'll be speaking to cereal farmer Harry.
Now, how long that milk has been pent up in that cow, we can't tell.
Yeah, there's no inheritance tax on intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Yeah.
There were a couple of other tense moments at the protest. Do you know what they were?
A tractor drove over a traffic cone.
You're so clever, it did.
I was there!
Here's another ugly scene.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
I've never felt the need to say to a dog, blink twice if you need help. I want to tell that dog to go to the bar and ask for Angela.
Who else showed up then if you were there?
Ed Davey, Kemi Badenoch, Nigel Farage.
Most of the shadow cabinet, actually, who suddenly all seem to think that protesting is actually a really good idea. Now they're not in government. Here they are. Oh, I know. Look at Priti Patel. She's showing her enthusiasm for farming by wearing something that she slaughtered that very morning.
With her bare hands, probably.
Bare hands, I know.
They should have probably written something on that banner.
No, that is literally their ideas about farming.
Can you name any of the hard-working landowners set to suffer at the hands of the government?
Dyson?
Clarkson. Possibly Lloyd Webber.
Tom Peck in the Times revealed Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage has land worth $3 million. Here he is at the protests.
Oh, my God, I've never wanted a busting cow to hand. Straight in there.
What does he grow on his farm, Farage? Fags?
I don't know.
I think he's got a vast tobacco crop.
I can imagine what he puts on his crops, because there's plenty of that.
Save himself a fortune. So, what evidence has Keir Starmer produced to show that he is on the side of the farmers?
Oh, his parents kept donkeys.
They did.
Against their will.
They did indeed. Well, he told the BBC this week, my first job was on a farm, says Sir Keir. I grew up in the countryside. We are a rural family. Although 3 weeks ago on a visit to a factory in Hull, he also claimed to have grown up in a factory just like this one. Where was he during all these protests, though?
He was abroad.
He was, yes.
He was at G20.
He was indeed. He spent the week in Brazil at the G20 summit, meeting world leaders, after which he went out into Rio to talk to locals and tell them how he'd grown up in a favela. He also popped to Paris for some entente cordiale. Here he is with President Macron. Now, keep an eye behind them. It looks like some of the French military vehicles have been supplied by the Flintstones. Well, this is the farmers' protest at Labour's new rules on inheritance tax. In other news, Rachel Reeves has been accused of lying on her CV, but we've all done that, haven't we, for work purposes? For years, I've claimed to be friends with Richard Madeley. Paul and Maisie, have a wee look at this.
Yes. OK, there's Donald Trump. That's Elon Musk.
He's the president.
He's the president, yeah. And that's Matt Gaetz, who was going to be Attorney General, but now can't be Attorney General because there's been some new revelations about his terrible life.
There's a man who's worried about being extradited.
Matt Gaetz has proved just too controversial, even for Trump. He was going to be head of the Justice Department, but he was being investigated for sexual misconduct by the House Ethics Committee until the investigation was closed when he resigned from Congress to become Attorney General.
He needs to be investigated for them eyebrows alone.
Well, yeah, and you know what? Looking at that, does he remind you of Robbie Rotten? You know Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. Don't you think?
It's a dead ringer.
It's uncanny. Let me show you this person. Oh, God.
Oh, that's the Fox News guy, isn't it?
He is the new Defence Secretary. Pete Hegseth, his name is. What's weird about this guy?
He doesn't believe in germs. They don't exist. You can't see them, therefore they don't exist.
Yeah, he said he doesn't think germs are a real thing. Now, he does have a military record, so you would think he'd have a good aim with a weapon, right? We'll have a look at him throwing an axe.
Yes.
Who's going to win this battle of the lumberjacks?
Please.
There's traffic behind it. Why are you throwing an axe in that direction? It's mad.
That'll cut down the military.
What problem has President Biden left in President-elect Trump's lap,
Ukraine.
leading to...
World War III.
No,
World War III, Maisie?
Maybe World War III.
You don't think?
No.
Oh, I feel a lot better now.
Yeah.
I do.
If I'm wrong, I'll be the first to apologise. This cavalcade of bozos is going to be, in charge in the world's most powerful country at the beginning of January. It can't help but fall apart in an air of absolute chaos.
That is the most brilliant analysis, and the collective noun for bozos is a cavalcade.
Yes.
A cavalcade
of bozos.
Love
Yeah.
that. Love it. Wonderful. Oh. Would you like to see Trump's pick for education secretary?
Yeah, let's have a look at that.
Called Linda
She's good
McMahon.
too.
She's
Yeah.
enjoying a day out with the family.
Mom, just remember, like you told me when I was a little girl, this is gonna hurt me a lot worse than it hurts you.
Get her! Stop it! Just tell their husband! They're getting her! Stop that! Stop that! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Is this a cabinet meeting? That's the John Prescott Memorial Games.
So she used to be, like, head of WWE then?
It is literally people that Donald Trump has seen on telly.
Oh, my God. The Home Secretary is going to be Marge Simpson, isn't it?
She'd be quite good.
She'd be all right. She'd be a breath
all
of fresh air.
She would be okay, Sticking with wrestling, what are they doing in a church in Bradford?
To encourage people to go to church, they're staging wrestling matches in the church.
So is this during the services?
Yeah. As it says in the Bible, the best of 3 falls and 1 submission. So it's wrestling matches in church.
It's good, but I think it would be better if it was actually, like, the clergy doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The Archbishop of Canterbury should be in there, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he should.
Unfortunately, there's been a fairly major inquiry into that.
You kind of ran into him recently, did you not, Ian?
Yeah, I did.
You did? How was that encounter?
He appeared at a public event the day after he'd resigned in disgrace and thought no one would say anything. And he came over and said hello, so I said something.
You've got balls, you really have.
He just seemed to me entirely shameless.
Years ago on this programme, I used to accuse Ian of being a bit snobbish. But now I withdraw that when I realise he meets the Archbishop of Canterbury at a drinks do at the British Museum.
Do you think so, Paul? Do you think you'll be missed at all?
We'll always get somebody else. Oh, the Archbishop of Canterbury, sorry. Sorry.
This is the news that Donald Trump has selected his new cabinet. According to the Mail Online, Health Secretary appointee Robert F. Kennedy is against the additives used in many McDonald's items, including the sausage McGriddle. Coincidentally, that's also the name of Donald Trump's favourite Scottish porn star. So...
You're happy with that one, aren't you?
So now to round 2, the one-armed bandit of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Paul.
I'm vaguely aware that the Americans have trained rats to drive cars.
Why?
Well, there's nothing better to do.
Well, it is the news, absolutely,
Yes.
that rats can drive.
Yes.
And what's more, rats enjoy driving.
Do they?
So how did scientists find this out, that rats are petrol heads, basically?
A questionnaire?
Has someone put something in my drink? What?
Yeah. OK, so they've put a rat in a car.
Yes.
And they've sort of seen the rat go, hey!
Why are we seeing if rats like driving?
Well...
Why is that on the to-do list?
Well...
You lot just seem like you're really fine with this.
Absolutely.
Researchers at the University of Richmond in Virginia, found that rats could be trained to drive a car in return for a reward.
Yeah.
The scientists first observed this during the pandemic.
So, in the pandemic, when we were all clueless as to how we were going to find a solution, and you're telling me some scientists went, do you know what I'm going to find out today? Does a rat enjoy driving? I reckon we'll put the vaccine off till tomorrow.
Would you like to see a rat driving?
Well, yes, clearly.
Yeah, obviously.
Just to prove to Maze that he exists.
OK, here's one.
There we are.
This is the real one. Have a look at this. Oh, so cute.
You've been generous with the term car.
Yeah.
There's remote control going on here.
No, I think the rat is just trying to get the treat but can't because someone's put it in a car. I don't think the rat is going, watch this, I can do a three-point turn. We deserve to get overtaken by robots and AI.
Well, we're going to get overtaken by a rat in a...
It could be a Top Gear for rats.
Yeah.
I think they did that. How do you think the rats feel, you know, when they're driving around, the wind and their fur?
I think they're enjoying the freedom of the road, you know, the independence.
Apparently they love it.
Yeah.
So much so that when she was conducting the experiment, Professor Kelly, no relation, noticed the rats were jumping into the car and revving the engine before their vehicle hit the road. Hollywood producers are now working on a screenplay for a brand new franchise, The Fast and the Furriest.
Oh, good stuff.
Oh, don't.
Sorry,
Do you get the feeling that whole item was produced just for that one joke?
I think so. It was. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Oh.
Yeah, Mel Gibson isn't Scottish.
Really?
Yeah, apparently he's Australian and he wasn't involved in Scottish independence.
True, but not what we were really looking for. This here is the news that Scottish people are better at spotting fake accents than people in the South.
Right.
So why are we better than you soft Southerners then?
I suppose you've got to have a good ear for accents to understand what each other are saying.
Researchers from Cambridge University, no
they didn't
less,
know nothing.
They put some Scottish rats in a car.
Researchers from Cambridge University think that centuries of tension and conflict have made Northerners, Scots and the Irish more wary of outsiders. Therefore, they are more attuned to spotting fakes, like Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart's not real?
Who did Theresa May impersonate recently? Did you see her?
Was it James Brown? I'm sure I've seen the footage. I felt like a sex machine. It was, wasn't it?
Theresa May attempted a Scottish accent in her opening speech in the House of Lords, because she's in there now, and she was telling a wee story about her mentor, Baroness Goldie.
My supporters indicated how generous it was of her to give me a gift. And she said, "It's the companion on standing orders."
It's Rod Stewart.
To read during recess.
She's not the only former Prime Minister who likes to put on an accent.
Yes.
Oh, no. What's Boris Johnson been doing?
Oh, he was in France.
Yes, he was. And he gave a radio interview in French. You want to hear this?
Oh, really?
Yes, please.
La liberté de faire des choses différentes. Et en particulier, vous voyez, on oublie tout ça maintenant, parce que c'est il y a 2 ou 3 années.
What's he saying, Ian?
It's gibberish.
Yeah. We have actually got the official translation. Would you like to see this?
Yes, please.
OK.
They make their burrows in rotten wood. Now it's what they did as a pass. There's a lorry load of interesting cheeses.
In other news, how has Richard III been communicating from beyond the grave?
This feels like one for you, Ian.
He's on Twitter.
No, he's on Good Morning Britain, isn't he?
Well, there's a lady called Yvonne Morley-Chisholm. She's a vocal coach at the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Yep.
She has spent 10 years of her life perfecting an avatar of Richard III.
Oh, right, good.
Yes, which has revealed his voice.
Yes, of course it would do, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It would.
Why am I in this car for?
According to BBC News,
Yeah.
the team studied his skull to decipher how his facial muscles would have looked.
Yes.
Despite the fact he was born in Northamptonshire, declared that his accent was decidedly Yorkshire.
Oh, no way. Does he sound like me?
Well, do you want to hear?
Yes.
OK, let's hear.
The sun sheens with no less licht and splendour, nor does it suffer any diminution of its strength. Rather, it is pleased to be seen, to sheen as a king in the midst of his nobles.
I think he went everywhere but Yorkshire. He started off Irish, and by the end, he was Billy Elliot.
Yeah.
Of course, if you want to hear a really typical Yorkshire phrase, it would be, there's too many of them in our cricket team.
Fucking hell, Lorraine.
Sorry, Maisie.
Your show's getting cancelled in the morning. National treasure by arse.
That's a proud boast.
Yeah.
A proud boast.
Time now for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week. They are Kemi Badenoch, Swedish Minister Paulina Brandberg, Edward VII, and the French.
Edward VII. Which one's he? You know you.
Edward VII, he's the bottom left. He's the one.
I know one thing.
Yeah. You know more than one thing. You know your name and where you live. That's two things.
She was in the newspaper because she hates bananas.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Is that the Swedish politician?
Pauline?
hating bananas?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Fears and phobias.
Yeah.
She's the odd one out.
They've all got
Yeah.
an unusual food obsession,
Yeah.
except for the Swedish Minister Paulina Brandberg,
Yeah.
who has indeed got an unusual food phobia. And leaked emails to her staff revealed that she asked them to banana-proof rooms before she entered them.
What?
Yes. What's the technical term for fear of bananas?
Bananaphobia.
It is banana
Oh,
phobia.
no.
Well, I thought Ian would, go to the Latin for banana and
No.
do
What's the Latin for
that.
Oh, he only knows one thing.
Yeah.
The only time you ever use Latin for banana is when you're in the British Museum talking to the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Do you want to tell me what drink Kemi Badenoch is obsessed with?
It's Diet Coke.
It's actually Coke Zero, but it has to be at room temperature.
Depends what the temperature of the room is.
Yeah.
What did King Edward VII's diet consist of?
Everything you could possibly eat,
Absolutely.
he did.
He was a renowned glutton.
Yeah.
So his food obsession was food.
Just basically everything. This is what he would eat. Breakfast,
Yeah.
30 courses. Lunch, 8 courses.
Yeah.
Then there was afternoon tea.
Yeah.
Then dinner, 12 courses. And right before he went to bed, he would have a supper of cakes.
Imagine following him into the lav. Absolutely.
The only way you'd ever follow Edward VII into the lab was if you were at a dinner at the British Museum.
What British food are the French supposedly obsessed with?
Roast beef.
No.
No.
No, it's
Fish
not.
and chips.
Sausage rolls.
No, chocolate fingers. Les fingers de Cadbury is what they call them.
Les Finger de Cadbury.
Finger
That was a
de
drag act,
Cadbury.
wasn't it?
There's now outrage in France because the biscuits have not been seen on supermarket shelves since the spring, and the makers have not explained why.
Oh.
So how do you think the French have reacted?
Protest.
Rioting.
Academic Sophie Theron told Le Monde,
Yeah.
when Cadbury withdraws its fingers without warning, the trust established with the brand is shattered. And
That needs no further comment.
Would you?
Would you withdraw your fingers without warning? Is that what you're asking us?
Would you like to see a French...
Well, obviously we would. But whether we should is another matter. Go on, then.
Would you like to see an old French advert for Cadbury's chocolate fingers?
I believe I would.
Yeah.
Ils sont bons tes fingers, monsieur Cadbury. Vous ne pouvez pas les faire un petit peu plus long?
Finger de Cadbury, c'est bon.
un petit peu plus long.
And well delivered there by a young Boris Johnson. Ah. OK, time now for the missing words round. Shall we start with fish called Bob causes sensation in Leeds because what?
It's got a fake Yorkshire accent.
No.
He buys around?
No. No. Fish called Bob causes sensation in Leeds because he has a human face.
Oh.
What?
No, he hasn't.
There's Bob.
Oh, yes, he does. He's got a human face.
It's got a tash and all.
Yeah. I think I used to go out with his sister.
132 hamsters on the loose. What?
132 hamsters on the Loose Women show.
Yes.
Oh!
They had to stand in for Junket Street Porter at the last minute.
It's 132 hamsters on the loose cause chaos on a flight to Portugal.
That's like the world's shittest sequel to Snakes on a Plane. Hamsters on a Jet2 flight.
Finally, Swindon town manager blames recent run-off defeats on what?
The opposition turning up.
It's ghosts, isn't it? It's the graveyard.
Swindon town manager blames recent run of defeats on stadium being
Oh, yeah.
haunted.
Oh.
Yeah, the manager Ian Holloway cited an example of the supernatural behaviour during their last home match when the ball was possessed by the opposition and they couldn't get it back for 90 minutes.
Possession. Yeah,
See?
right.
He knows about football. He knows.
Yeah, no, I could do banter about this.
Did you watch Match of the Day last week, Archbishop?
The final scores
5
are Ian and Matt. I've got 5.
Yeah, what have you got?
And Paul and Maisie have got 5.
Great.
Good draw. Right, before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
The monkey's saying, hello, is that the manager of Whipsnade Zoo? Guess who's in your office?
Hello, rats, taxis. What's the pickup address, please?
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Matt Chorley, Paul Merton and Maisie Adam. And I'll leave you with news that, at a party in London, one man reacts after the guest of honour tells his father's favourite joke. In Florida, one man wonders when his assistants will hurry up with those earplugs that he asked for. And in London, the media are introduced to the new editorial policy unit at GB News. Good night.
All change across the pond from Trump's top team to Democrat regrouping. Dig into Americast on BBC Sounds. And it's back home to Dad for only child Richard next on BBC One. Brand new bittersweet comedy coming right up.